Well, Boston is a city of many rivalries. There's that whole New York thing when it comes to baseball, and with basketball, it's L.A. But our own reporter, Adam Ragusea, has been contemplating another rivalry, one that is meteorological rather than athletic. Hey there, Adam.
Hello.
So I guess it's time to play Who Are We Rivaling Now?
Right, well, today's winner is Chicago. You always hear about how Chicago is the windy city, right? But when I first moved to Boston, I had a few experiences downtown in which I was nearly made airborne. And then when I started working here at WBUR, I really started to wonder about the wind because Comm Ave is this crazy intense wind tunnel to the point where when we want to go outside and record stuff, which we often do, we often have problems because this is all the mic picks up.
And it does terrible things to my hair, let me tell you. But listeners, Adam and I want to know right now, which city do you think is windier, Boston or Chicago? And what are your crazy wind stories? I mean, did your house or trees or even you get blown away by that summer storm just yesterday? And is there a specific spot in the city where you always lose your hat or even your footing? Give us a call right now at 1-800-423-8255. That's 1-800-423-TALK. And while we're getting your calls in, Adam went looking for his own answer to this question about which city is windier and why. And here's what he came up with.
The average winds in Boston are like over 12 miles per hour. And in Chicago, it's order of 10. So if you simply use this simple parameter, Chicago is less windy than Boston.
Well, that was easy. Chicago is less windy than Boston. Or so says Alex Kalmikov, Russian-born Israeli physicist, mathematician, MIT doctoral candidate, and expert in simulating fluid flow. In this context, wind is a fluid. Anyway, he's got two big reasons for saying Boston is windier. And to find out what they are, I'm tromping through MIT's Briggs Field, where Alex is on his way to collect data from a monitoring station he helps run.
So let's open the data box. Let's operate it home. Let's see how much data we collected.
Alex's box shows the wind is coming strong from the northwest, which is the way it usually is.
And the northeast region is known for pretty strong prevailing northwesterly wind, which is a basic meteorological phenomenon of which has to do with jet stream, which is the airflow, which makes your airplane take significantly longer to fly to America from Europe than flying from America to Europe back.
So that's big reason number one. Boston is windier because the jet stream hits us with pretty strong, sustained northwesterly winds most of the time. That's why when I bike to work westbound every morning, I feel like I'm riding into Jell-O. Now, over in the Midwest...
In Chicago, there are strong breezes from the Great Lake. Remind the name of this Great Lake?
Lake Michigan.
Yes. Yes. So, and the mechanism is a mechanism of sea breeze. I can go into details explaining what a sea breeze, but it's basically...
Actually, I'll take this one. When the sun rises every day, it warms up the land and it warms up the water. But the water doesn't warm up as fast, so before long, the air above the land is warmer than the air above the water. The cooler air over the water is denser, so it pushes its way toward the land, and there you've got a sea breeze. Now,
looking at the sea breeze, I would expect much stronger sea breeze in Boston, which is on the shore of the ocean, versus the weaker breeze effect of Michigan Lake.
Okay, that makes sense. Seems pretty cut and dry. Let's hop at the cubicle wall and run this by WBUR's in-house Chicagoan, reporter Sonari Glinton.
Hey, Sonari.
What's up?
So you lived in Chicago for a long time. You're from Chicago.
Yeah.
Which city is windier?
I've heard that meteorologists have, shown that, Boston's, actually windier city. But I don't buy it. It's bunk.
Bunk? Elaborate.
The majority of the population that lives in the city is scrunched up, hugging the lakefront. That's where most people experience their windiness. And when was the last time you were at the Boston Harbor? Thank you. I'm just saying.
And that's why it's a fascinating and complicated problem.
Back to our wind scientist friend Alex, who says the concept of windiness depends entirely on...
where you measure, how you measure, what are the numbers and parameters that you deliver.
For instance, those numbers Alex mentioned before, 10 miles per hour annual average wind speed in Chicago versus 12 miles per hour in Boston, That data is gathered at the airport, O'Hare and Logan respectively. And even then, the wind is different at different heights, and it's an average, so one place might be more gusty than another, but the sustained winds are slower, so a place can feel windier even if it's not on average, and blah, blah, blah. It gets complicated. Plus, people don't really live at the airport. They mostly live around buildings, and buildings make wind tunnels.
The windiest place in the world, in the country.
It might as well be. I've heard it's probably the windiest intersection in all of New England. I believe it. Okay, we're going to cross over here now.
That's one of our Radio Boston interns, Megan Kane. She's leading Emerson College alumni on a campus tour downtown. Megan goes to Emerson, and she says most students come to dread crossing the corner of Boylston and Tremont.
Because this is where we kind of cross back and forth through classes. And in the winter, when you step up here, it is unbelievably windy. It just gets windier by tenfold, I swear.
I think it's actually a very exciting spot.
Alex, our wind scientist, knows this corner well because he goes to the movies at the Lowe's Theater across from Boylston Station.
If you look at the map of this region, you can see, let's map it like this. So this is the corner intersection, and the Boston Common and Common Gardens is exactly to the northwest of this corner, street intersection. You have beautiful, long fetch for the wind to accelerate.
I should say here, a fetch is the unobstructed distance over which wind can travel in a constant direction. In this case, the wide open expanse of Boston Common.
And then all this wind stream is getting concentrated through this narrow discharge point.
And that narrow discharge point is our infamous corner at Boylston and Tremont. The prevailing northwesterly winds gain speed as they whip across the common and collect at the southeastern corner like bathwater spiraling toward a drain. So what do we learn from this? Well, wind is complicated stuff, and some spots in Boston are just going to be way windier than others. The same in Chicago. Until we install an aerometer on every sidewalk on every block in both cities, we're never really going to be able to say which feels windier. So, is it windier in Chicago or Boston? Short answer, Boston. Long answer, if that conclusion is unsatisfying to you, I recommend you go outside and find some comfort in that summer breeze.
That recommendation, which I wish I could take right now, and that report from Radio Boston's Adam Ragusea. He's still with us, but we've